I think it's no surprise that as codependents and people pleasers, we might have high expectations of ourselves. That we think that being on the spiritual journey means that we always have to be leveling up, that we're doing okay, that we have all these tools. But the truth is, sometimes you have to just allow yourself to be exactly where you are, to actually be in the moment of right now and feel whatever those feelings are, even if they're difficult feelings or if you're in pain. Because we're working on not suffering, the suffering meaning that we're wanting and clinging and pulling and controlling for it to be different. But even if you're in that space, that's okay too, because we are learning to be awake and conscious and to have a level of awareness in what is going on in our life so that we can use the soul recovery tools and principles to understand more about ourselves and heal even more deeply. It's okay to be wherever you are today, in this moment. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast, a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life. My name is Reverend Rachel Harrison. I started Recover Your Soul after having profound changes in my life from my recovery of alcoholism, codependency, and control addiction. I was guided to share the tools and principles of spirituality and soul recovery to help others transform their lives as mine was transformed. For us to overcome external circumstances, we need to turn the attention to ourselves, focusing on our inner change and healing. Positive results in our lives will follow. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast. It's Rev Rachel. Thank you so much for choosing in to spend your time with me today. Thank you for choosing this community. Thank you for choosing yourself, because ultimately the reason why you're here is because you have been drawn, you have been called to learn how to be okay when the world, the people, the everything, it feels like right now, is completely changing, it's shifting, it's transforming. And I often say we're learning to be okay when everything around us isn't okay. But I just want to call out that there is a lot right now that feels really heavy and unsure, whatever it is. And we're all in our own independent lives. And you've come here probably because you have somebody in your life who's struggling with addiction, or you're codependent, or maybe you have addiction yourself. Maybe you're a people pleaser. Maybe you searched on something and found one of the podcasts and you've come into this community because it's giving you a line to remember your wholeness, to remember who you are. And if that's the case, I am honored. I'm honored and privileged to have you here with me on the journey because, man, that's what I'm working on. I have these tools that I'm using from the 9-step soul recovery process, which came from originally from the 12-step programs that I was in as an alcoholic and as a recovering codependent in Al-Anon. And then I started my spiritual journey and really deepened that spiritual practice, became a metaphysical minister, and have just been gathering tools and information and opening my own heart and opening my own healing and really deeply doing the work around letting go of those old patterns that are so rooted in our subconscious that we don't even know are keeping us locked in the story. They're keeping us locked in the story. But then we're also on this wild ride of humanity as Earth School, as it's called, and I like to call it, in our own unique curriculum. And today's episode is around it's okay to be exactly where you are. It's okay to be exactly where you are and to give yourself a break. And I'm doing this episode because I need to be exactly where I am. And I need to give myself a break because as I continue to do this journey, one of the things that's really been coming to me, and it's not just me, I've had this in reflection with a couple of friends as well, and I can feel it from the people that I work with directly, is this part of us that feels like if I do the work hard enough for myself, if I can be completely successful in my soul recovery journey, in my healing, then I will fix everybody else. Because dang it, if that control and that desire to fix and help isn't sneaky stuff. Oh my gosh, it just keeps coming back around and just being sneaky in my life, that sticky, sneaky piece where in our own healing, we're still in the place where our own healing, we're really hoping will heal them. So we're still putting the attention on them instead of putting the attention on ourselves. And it's because we've been so ingrained to have their needs and their feelings come first. And what I recognize for me is the last 4 months in particular have been really interesting in terms of my my family life and everything that's been happening in my own family life. And if you've gone back and listened to the episodes, and if you like this and you like my stories, I encourage you to go back and start at the beginning, because this is the 6th season. I started recording in 2020. This was when it was hitting the, oh my God, the pay dirt for me. This is when I started recording, was when Alex was really in the grips of addiction, really bad. Bodhi had just moved to California. We were trying to figure out how to handle what was going on in our life. I was still in early recovery, only a couple years into my sobriety. And I was just barely getting a fingernail on some of these principles. And I read that detachment bookmark that I had. And I was living those detachments. I was trying to not talk about Al-Anon or AA in the podcast, which I had no idea was going to create this community when I started. But I just didn't want to go against the 12 traditions. And for anybody who's in Al-Anon, know that I'm aware of that. And I hope you hear me when I say how important Al-Anon's been to me. And I understand that those principles are still such a foundational piece, but it's bigger than just the organization of these 12-step programs, which thank God they came up with those 100 years ago, right? I mean, 100 years ago in the 30s, in the 30s is when Bill and Lois started these programs. And it was wild back then, right? These concepts were wild. It's the same as Unity, which is the spiritual organization that I attended for over 24 years. Unity was, the founders were Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. They didn't intend to start a church either. They were just interested and open to different concepts. They were studying different philosophies. They were going and wondering what the Eastern philosophies were. And she had tuberculosis. And she healed herself of her tuberculosis through positive prayer. And that so inspired other people. I mean, if you think about 100 years ago, it was crazy to think that you could recover from alcoholism. It was crazy to think that you could have your mind decide who you were. I mean, these were concepts that were not even in people's view yet, which I think is the amazing thing about how we're learning and how much our consciousness is raising, because all it takes is a few people to start to change and to start to shift and to understand and believe and have evidence. And then that grows more evidence and people are willing to step out in faith. That's the beauty of what original religions really are, is somebody who's willing to step out in faith. And so soul recovery has become a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life, because spirituality is the solution to my addiction. It is the solution to my codependence. It is the solution to fear for me. So if you go back and you listen to those episodes from the very beginning of May of 2020, and my life is pretty chaotic, and you listen throughout the 5 seasons and now into the 6th season, you get a sense and a feeling of how slow and steady that process is. And that's the part where we give ourselves permission to be where you are right now, to be where you are right now. And maybe it means that you can hardly keep your head above water. And maybe it means that every day actually is getting softer and softer, that detachment principles and the 9-step soul recovery process is working in your life, and you're seeing transformation and change, and it's affecting change in the people around you. And you're seeing the benefit of what people before you have done, and that you can believe that you are deserving of it as well, right? That you can believe that you're deserving of it as well. Are you ready to step into your soul recovery? Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net to learn more about the 9-step soul recovery process. I hope that you'll join us the first Monday of every month for the free soul recovery support group on Zoom, where we learn more about soul recovery and connect with each other. If you'd like to work directly with me to move through the 9-step soul recovery process, I'm here for you, but you can also choose to work the steps on your own with individual modules intended to support you to work at your own pace and on your own time. And if you want even more soul recovery, join us for the Recover Your Soul bonus podcast for Patreon members and Apple Podcast subscribers, where I interview amazing people sharing soul recovery tips for us and also do spiritual book studies. You can also find daily inspiration on Facebook and Instagram and join our private Facebook community. Visit the website for more information, links, and registration for everything. Back to the episode. Hey, Soul Recovery family, it's Rev Rachel, and I just want to jump in real quick and personally invite you to join me online or in person for a soul recovery transformational experience. There's nothing more powerful than us coming together in a sacred space for connection and self-discovery and to work the 9-step soul recovery process. I have one-day workshops and full weekend retreats. In Sacramento on April 13th, I'm offering a full-day workshop, and then I'm also offering a virtual workshop on Zoom on May 31st. So no matter where you are, you can join me for this incredible immersive soul recovery experience. And then we have weekend retreats, 2 full days of soul recovery, July 19th and 20th in Colorado, and September 13th and 14th in Asheville, North Carolina. I hope that you will join me and others on the soul recovery journey for an incredible opportunity to release old patterns, reconnect with your higher self, and immerse yourself in healing and transformation. These gatherings are powerful, and I hope to see you there. You can visit the website, recoveryoursoul.net, for more on everything. Back to the episode. And that's the part for me that I think that when I look at what's been happening in my life in these 7 years, and I think back to, even like a couple years ago, and how much transition has happened in those time periods, I have this fault that I catch myself doing, which is such an old rooted pattern and belief, which is why they're so great that they continue to show up. We work on them so hard, not working on them hard. I'm getting more clarity that it's not really working like an effort. It's more of an awareness. It's more of a subtle energy where you have a gentleness to yourself. You have a compassion to yourself. You have a grace that says, gosh, that's still there. This part that thinks I'm supposed to do it all perfect. And if I do it all perfect, then somehow I will say it perfect. I'll relay the message perfect. Whatever it is, I'll do just right. And through that, then I will elicit some sort of change in everybody else around me. So that's sort of the undercurrent of this. But the main current is it's okay to be exactly where you are. So if I look at the rawness of myself in 2020, and I look at how I was still really reeling from so much of the really intense pain and trauma and upset that had happened in my life and my marriage for so long, and having the kids, having the issues they were having, and having an alcoholic husband, and me being an alcoholic, and oh my gosh, all the things that we went through. But I'm still in a place where I have to give myself permission that I haven't reached the destination yet. That over the last 4 months, it's like these beautiful things are happening in my life. These beautiful things are happening in my consciousness. These awarenesses where I have more and more and more moments of just deep peace are intermixed with the part of me that is still scrambling to keep that codependent control that is still affected so deeply with fear. And when I went to California for Christmas with my mom and Rich and the kids, and we had such a lovely time, but I was watching myself with all my players in one space that wasn't my own home, right? So you're outside of your comfort zone. And every time we get outside of our comfort zone, we move into a wider zone. Maybe it's the learning zone, maybe it's the too much zone, but we're in that place where we have a little more heightened sense of, oh, okay, we're not running on just whatever the standard operating system is. And I watched myself be really conscientious of everybody else's needs. And then I came back from that and it was like, oh my gosh, it's still in there so deeply, so deeply. And what's been happening over the last couple months is that I think that, part of the soul recovery process is those last steps. The last steps talk about living, aligning with your new perception, aligning with and living this new, healthier perception of yourself in the world, and then deepening your spiritual practice, like really having your spiritual practice be the foundation, that spirit of whatever that is for you comes first. And then shining your light, then having the energy and the capacity to shine light. But I think we can get stuck on that last step where we think that it's our job to go out and shine the light. And then guess what? We're circled back into feeling responsible for everybody else's light. And that's kind of where I've been lately. And a couple things have happened that have brought me to this. One is that Alex having the baby, who I'm going to go see here shortly. I'll be in California for almost 12 days, I think. I'm doing a workshop during that time and can't wait to go see Alex and Lexi and Rocky and really spend some time with them. And I recognize that this is one of those moments where you think that you can be detached. You think that you can let it. You think that you can just relax and move into grandma mode, right? Where you just show up and you're happy and everything's good. But that hasn't been what's been happening for me. What's been happening for me is something that I've had a lot of you report to me that happens to you as well. And it's making me emotional just to think about it. It's that level of desire for it to be good for them. And the interesting thing is, and I think I may have said this in another podcast, I actually don't even know how it is for them. I think it's good, but it also could not be good. And I'm just not getting the information about what's actually really going on. But I think because the delivery itself and that week afterwards in the hospital and them coming home was pretty intense, that it put me back into a place of heightened awareness. And I've been doing all the work. This is the part that I really want to stress upon, the fact that you're okay wherever you are. It's not about being perfect. It's not about the fact that you're supposed to get to some place where, oh, everything just rolls off my back, or I don't have to worry about it, or I just take a deep breath and do a meditation and I'm raised back up into my higher consciousness. Yes, I hope that happens in small doses, but you're in life. You're in life. And this is the piece where I just have so much compassion for everybody in the community, because when we meet on the once a month support group, or when you send me emails about what's going on in your life, or the one-way text messages that you can send through the podcast, which I can only read them. I have no idea who sent them and I can never return, but I love getting those. But I hear your stories. And when I work with people as in coaching with soul recovery, or you come to a workshop or a retreat, we're in this situation where part of what we're really working on is the real stuff, the situations, the people that are in our lives that are complicated. And so it is true that we can't just bypass that. That would actually take away the whole reason why we're here on Earth School in the first place. And I hope that you'll listen to the podcast that was around challenge, around really recognizing that part of why we're here is to be in situations where we're moving out of that little tiny comfort zone and we're stretching into challenge. And so that heightened awareness that I've had around Alex and Lexi and Rocky, I've just noticed is just kind of rumbling around in there. It hasn't been really intense. And when I have moments of intensity, I use all the tools and I really recognize my trying to be in control. I'm powerless over what's going on with them. I use all the tools that we've talked about in the soul recovery process. And I come back down underneath what I call the rock that I'm carrying, the weight of this situation. And I really tune into myself and the part of me that just feels tender. And then my heart really just wants everybody to be at ease and be at peace. I really want that because I think we all are deserving of it. But I also recognize that that's not how it is for everybody all the time. And it certainly hasn't been the way that it's been for me all the time. So it's kind of funny that I spend more energy wanting that to be what it is for everybody else versus claiming it and wanting it for myself. Then when I do that, I have this moment where I really feel the connection to spirit. I really feel this knowing that we are indeed held by something greater still, and that if I let go of all the story of fear, then I can be at peace with myself. I can be at peace with whatever it is, which means that you're letting go of the control of it being anything in particular. And the truth is, it's going to be whatever it's going to be anyway, right? We don't have any control over it. But then I'm attending to myself and I'm saying, it's okay for me to be wherever I am in that day. And if it means that it's a roller coaster throughout the day, and there's certain points of the day where I feel at peace, I feel in connection, I feel whole, I feel access to the guidance that comes, I feel lighthearted. I've just been better at soaking that up and just allowing myself to really kind of revel in that feeling, so that when the energy shifts and I move more into a cautious or a fearful state of whatever that is, then I have more strength to know that this too shall pass, which is one of those great Al-Anon and AA slogans. This too shall pass. But it doesn't just mean the hard stuff passes. This too shall pass also means that the good stuff will pass. It's impermanence, which is one of the foundational pieces of Buddhism. The other thing that's happened in my life recently is Rich, who's been working for himself since I was pregnant with Alex, so what is that, 29 years, has been working, building. He went to school for architecture. He was sitting in the architecture office while I was pregnant with Alex, having his good job that he got out of college, drafting and helping build, whatever he was doing for this architecture firm while he was doing his internship. And he hated it. He absolutely hated it. And he would come home every day and he would just say, I don't know if I can do this. I can't sit here and stare at a computer. I know this is what my family wanted me to do. I know this is what a good person does. I know that we're about to have a baby. He's like, but I'm going crazy. And in the midst of it, he had started remodeling the house that I bought when we first got together, which is now our house that we've still been in for over 32 years. And he loved it. And he would just get so jazzed every time that he built something. And then he started doing some stonemasonry for one of his bicycle mountain biking buddies on the weekends. And then he called me one day on a Thursday. It was so funny because he was so excited. And he said, I drove the bus down here, but I have too much stuff. I got laid off. You got to come get me. And he started working for himself, doing construction and landscaping and stonemasonry and building these amazing backyards that he's done for people with these fabulous water features and fire and all the stuff that he's been doing for all these years. But he's been saying that that he can't continue it. He's 58 years old. It's very, very, very hard labor. And it's also just a lot of stress around getting the jobs, getting paid for the jobs, getting the help for the jobs. And it's been a journey for him on his own spiritual exploration of self over the years. And then I used to joke that Rich isn't really somebody that plays well with others. So it was really good that he had his own business because he can be intense and he can be lovely and he's mostly lovely, but when he's intense, he's intense. And so sometimes he would butt up against heads with people. So anyway, right before Christmas, he heard that there was a job opening in a county job that's actually here in Colorado in the open space and historic building sites department. And he heard about it from a neighbor of ours who works the job. And he said he was going to apply for this job. And literally my mouth dropped open. Like, really? You're going to go work for somebody? And then at that same time, I thought, this is exactly what he's been drawing to himself. He's been doing that piece that I talked about earlier, where you think the thought and it comes to you. This concept that the New Thought movement and the AA and Al-Anon spiritual practices 100 years ago that we're really making up front, which is you get clarity about something and it presents itself to you. It's the miracles that happen from the law of attraction and spirituality. And so when you start really looking at this job that he found, he heard about, he did a resume, a cover letter, he went for interviews, he did all this work, and it just started this week. But guess who got wrapped up in the emotions of if he would like it, if it would be okay with him, if he'd be uncomfortable, and having to wake up. It's 4 10-hour days, so he has to be at work 45 minutes away by 7 a.m., which means it's a total different sleep schedule, which all of my codependent stuff got all riled up again in wanting to make sure that he's okay. And it's been really fascinating to sort of like get hooked again in Alex and get hooked again in Rich and get hooked again in realizing that when I get hooked in those two places, all the other hooks start to hook. And I've felt myself become more and more kind of aware of other people's emotions, what other people are saying, what their needs might be. And there's just so many places that it showed itself. One was I had an exchange with a family member around politics that was really painful and hard because I didn't feel like I had started it or said anything about it. And what I realized is that that pain of somebody else's opinion of me was a lot, especially when it sort of comes out of left field, right? But what I can see that the reason why I think it like struck me so hard is because it's stacked on all these other situations. I've already have a lot of my attention and energy moving over towards taking care of mentally this family that lives far away that I actually have no idea what's happening in their house besides some nice pictures, right? I'm like sort of making up these stories. And then I have Rich, who's in this transition in jobs, and he's finishing off other jobs and trying to figure out schedules and this whole huge life change of being on somebody else's timetable and everything that goes with that. And then, so my energy is not in my body. It's not in my center. I'm not actually doing the part of deepening my spiritual practice to the level that is going to keep me grounded. I've slipped back into sort of the spin. And this is the piece that is so essential. It's okay wherever you're at. Because the 9-step soul recovery process and the 12 steps in AA and Al-Anon and all the other spiritual tools that are out there are not one-time use tools. They're tools that you actually learn how to use more readily. And so the part that I think is so essential, and I'm just processing what's going on with me in my own life, is that when you can stay conscious, when you can wake up just a little bit in the middle of it, when you catch yourself in the middle of it, sort of feeling overwhelmed or feeling tired or feeling uninspired or feeling overworked or stressed out, that is the emotions that are telling you something. I'm always telling you that your emotions are telling you something. And as recovering codependents and people pleasers and addict lovers or addicts ourselves, we don't actually hear those first nudges and give ourselves credit to just be where we're at and to settle back and say, what do I actually need here? What am I actually feeling here? What truly is going on? Where could I offer myself self-care? Not self-care maybe in a massage so much, although I highly recommend that if you can, but self-care in the part that says, oh, I'm powerless over everything that's going on around me. I'm actually not responsible for whether Rich likes his job or not. I didn't find him the job. I didn't recommend it to him. I didn't do his cover letter or his resume or tell him that he had to go get this, right? Like you would think that I had, with sometimes the amount of spark that's in there about wanting to make sure that he likes it. And the reason why I want him to like it is because if he's cheerful, it's easier around the house. Well, I'm powerless over whether he's cheerful. I'm powerless over what he thinks about it. I'm powerless over what's going on with Alex. I'm powerless over what's going on with Bodhi in his life. I'm powerless over my mom. I'm powerless over my dad. But I can show up in my whole self, which sometimes feels depleted, which sometimes doesn't need to take care of everything, almost all the time doesn't need to take everything, and to just attend to what it is that is mine to actually show up and do and be. In my life, and what I hope that I'm providing you in soul recovery is that is just to be your most authentic self that is loving, that is open, that is compassionate, that can allow people to be in their situations. As I go to California, I'm actually just super interested to go and see exactly where they're at, good or hard, and go look in that little baby's eyes who's 6 weeks old now and starting to smile a little bit and just interact from that place that says, I don't have to fix them. I don't have to make it better for them. I actually can give advice when it's asked for and to stay conscious in it and to recognize that this opportunity is for me to actually go fill myself up instead of to take the battery down, to plug it back in, to take a break from work a little bit, to take a break from my life, move outside of that comfort zone and go into that exploratory place where we have a little bit of challenge, but like nice challenge, right? And then the good news for Rich is he actually, so far, is in the first week and he's excited about it. The hardest part is that he has been on his own timetable. And so being on somebody else's clock from 7 a.m. to 5:30, it's a long day. It's a long day right now, but he'll get used to it and he has to get up early. That's his journey and his experience to have. And the story that I tell myself is that it's my job to make it easier for him, but that's not true. That's not true. And then when I'm gentle to myself, when I allow myself to be exactly where I am, part of that is to go and actually to give yourself credit for how far you've come. Because when you're raising your consciousness and when you're awakening, you are in a new station, you're at a new norm, a new level of balance. And so I think that we can strive a little bit too hard, too much, like I was saying earlier about wanting to like sort of get to some place. And what that place is really wanting is to get to a place where we have more peace, more contentment, but really it's less pain. To get to a place where there's less pain. But pain isn't necessarily bad because feelings are such a profound part of being human beings. I want to be without the suffering. And the suffering is the part of me that still gets hooked about wanting it to be different or wanting to control how it is or wanting to save or to fix or to help. But we don't have to help or fix or save anyone. Not that they're not worth helping, fixing, or saving, but they need to discover that that's their own journey to do in themselves. I need to bring my energy back to myself. And I need to restore myself. I need to make sure my batteries are full so that I can actually shine light and be present in whatever the situation is, wonderful or hard, from the most authentic, loving place that I can be. And from that place, then we get to make decisions that align with who we are and be with people that align with who we are and allow what falls away to fall away and allow what comes in to come in and to have space to listen to the still small voice, the subtle guidance that is the wisdom that's within all of us. This incredible ability to listen to something greater still that's outside of our ego and our fear and all of our attachments and all of our stories, and to give us the strength to be in whatever we're in from a capacity of love. That takes us out of being a victim, because being in your feelings, and even the feelings of overwhelm or sadness or grief, those are real, important feelings, but they are they're so much more able to give you information if they're not attached to the story of what they're doing and why they're doing that, and that that's happening and doing to me. So what I recognize, and I'll use as a close for the episode today, is if I give myself grace to be exactly where I'm at from the soul recovery metaphysical space, where we are owning our own feelings, where we're really looking at how do we feel, we're letting go of all judgment of everything outside of us as good or bad, and we're allowing everyone to be in their own life, in their own situation. We're detaching with love. It allows us to actually see what is and to be with ourselves as what is, and then to give ourselves credit where credit is due, to be able to say, I love being able to say, I am an entirely different human being than I was 7 years ago. And on some level, because so much growth and healing and ability to really, really just see and love people wherever they are, full acceptance of people wherever they are, those emotions are so much richer and deeper that it brings in that side piece where I love them so much. I just want it to be easier for them. And then at the same time, I can say, it's not fair for me to take away their experience. Can I love them enough to let it be exactly what it is, and that they get to choose what that is? And then I'm going to love myself enough to remember that I am resourced by spirit, by the universe, by eternal love, by eternal strength, that I can be present with whatever is. And I can let myself be tired or worn out or overwhelmed or depleted. And then just lastly, to give ourselves credit for the fact that if we are in that space, the likelihood is we are feeling other people's true depth of energies more truly. And we're also feeling the wild cosmos stuff that's going on with all the astrology is really intense right now. They say the energies are really intense. We've had eclipses and flares, and if you believe in all that energy shifting stuff, it's pretty intense. And then our country is in a really difficult place, which is why this really painful interaction happened with a family member that I'm not sure whether it's the rupture of this relationship forever. It may be, and that's sad. And not because I'm angry, but because I have boundaries. And boundaries given in love allow somebody else to be wherever they are. But I'm going to choose me because I'm working on that for me to be wherever I am right now. So give yourself grace, give yourself space, give yourself the permission, if it is a hard day, to be in a hard day, and know that as soon as it pops up into a different feeling, you can just move there. You don't have to dwell too much or try to understand too much. Like, you don't have to figure it all out. Be in the present moment that you are, this moment. Be wherever you are at right now, and allow yourself to move through everything that's happening. This too shall pass. In each state and each space, moving through those 9 steps of soul recovery as a flow, right? As a flow and a reminder that we're always progressing, we're always working, we're always awakening. Just stay conscious in all of it, and it will be revealed to you. So I'm excited to go and have this little trip and just see how it all turns out. And I'm going to let myself just be exactly where I am in each moment. I'm going to allow that to be as it is. And I hope you will do the same. Until next time, namaste. Thank you for listening, and I hope that helps support your soul recovery process. Just a reminder that every Friday is the Recover Your Soul bonus podcast. This podcast is for Patreon members and Apple Podcast subscribers. And not only do you get an incredible interview or book study that comes with being part of that community, but your subscribing helps support this podcast and the Recover Your Soul community. If you want to listen to those bonus episodes but can't subscribe right now, do know that you can be a free Patreon member and have access for limited time to new new episodes. Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net or check out the show links below for coupons and information for upcoming events. I thank you for sharing this podcast with your friends and family. I thank you for giving it 5 stars, and the reviews that are left bring tears to my eyes. I am honored to be part of your life. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. The Recover Your Soul podcast and its content is for educational purposes only and is not allied or representative of any organizations or religions. It's based on the opinions and experience of Reverend Rachel Harrison. Recover Your Soul claims no responsibility to any persons or entity for any liability, loss, damage, or cause alleged to be caused directly or indirectly as a result of its use. Applications or interpretations of the information represented herein. Take what you need and leave the rest.